A few years after the crushing of the Commune, British journalist George Augustus Sala visited Paris again. Buildings had been restored. There were the pleasant strolls with a companion, the unhurried hours in a smart cafe, the cabs always there to be hailed by an English my lord, and a nice dîner à cinq. The stock exchange, seen by an artist from above, was booming and looked more than ever like a circus. The beggars were still there too, looking rather older. Nothing might have happened since his last visit before the Commune. But of course, it had. There's a view that the Commune was in some senses over-democratic. The fact that every step it took had to be discussed and a consensus found between the many groupings, the supporters of Proudhon, of Blanqui, the few Marxist members, made it slow to respond when it was assaulted by the rebuilt army of Thiers. The attempt to centralize control and tighten discipline by creating a Committee of Public Safety came too late and caused more divisions. The sheer brutality of the attack, with its indiscriminate massacres, La Semaine Sanglante or Week of Blood, which left perhaps 100,000 dead and imprisoned, ensured its success. I'd questioned from the start the nature of the fear that had gripped the upper classes, had indeed gripped them so coldly that they believed, in the words of de Goncourt, that a thorough bloodbath, Goncourt's own words, had been necessary. It must surely have been a nightmare scenario that could cause them, educated and cultured Frenchmen and women, to behave with such ferocity. The point is that neither their lives nor their property were under immediate threat. The Commune's weaknesses were well known, and Paris was isolated. So what kind of fear was it that led to such a cruel and vindictive reaction? Let's look at a right-wing cartoon. It's a Commune estafette, a dispatch rider. We saw a real one here in an earlier chapter at the Place Blanche, which was defended by a women's battalion. Estafette, a dashing word, but the oaf can't manage a horse. Now, competent, working-class horse handlers of all sorts had always been numerous in Paris. But estafette, wouldn't that be above their proper station in life? And this cartoon, which I showed, to give a positive idea about the outbreak of print, the creative outbreak during the Commune, was of course meant for a negative interpretation. Then Bertal sketches a clerk to whom the Commune gave the job of running the telegraph service when the chiefs were pulled out to Versailles. A silly costume, a childish vanity, but not more silly than the uniform of General Gallifet, who ordered remorseless murder after murder during the Semaine Sanglante. The clerk, however, with the help of other working people, used his time to keep Paris alive. And they did. Pretty well, too. Food markets, transport, sewage, hospitals. A woman colonel in the communal army. Pretentious. But as we've seen, the women of the Commune fought like tigresses at the Place Blanche, and for 3 days sent back brave news by the Commune's oh-so-funny estafettes. You know, I've wondered if, for the first time in their lives, it may have struck some of the upper classes, not the middle sort. We aren't talking of technocrats or other specialists, many of whom came over to the Commune. Daumier called this lithograph the government's stomach. I'm speaking about the corrupt and rich politicians and their friends. About the administrative bureaucrats who are nicknamed les mandarins, the mandarins, about the men who had inherited wealth, and about the new self-made financiers. It may just have dawned on some of them that they were not absolutely necessary to society. An irrational loathing of the Commune is here just below the surface of this brilliant forgery. The champagne and the courtesans, though, would be a bizarre and inexplicable feature if people hadn't already known about the morals of the old National Assembly. In other words, the picture is saying that Commune members are enjoying the same perquisites as those in power before them. They are ridiculed and damned only because upstarts aren't entitled to do this, any more than they would be entitled to play the stock market, here in the Paris Bourse. Fine building. It's all as if in France the powerful had to feel that their position was in some sense deserved. They were doing what no one else could do. But take away that undefined essentiality, and what did they actually deserve? More than any labourer did. You see, I have a feeling that to the French rich and privileged, the threatened revelation was truly terrifying. Perhaps to the rich and privileged everywhere, if it once sinks into the common people that they can run society as well as or better than those who have hitherto done so, how will things end? 2 months of history had to be wiped out. Like the fading image of the dog on the steps, a splendid creature, the Commune mustn't survive a time exposure. Now, Alfred Rohl's youthful bugler didn't live long enough to threaten the old order by remembering and babbling of how things had been without them after the 18th of March. He was destined to be no long-term threat to the necessary illusions of the French ruling class, illusions which they encouraged in others and by which they lived and maintained their self-confidence. Nor would all those men and women who died on the barricades or in the Père Lachaise cemetery. But those who survived must also be neutralized, and likewise those coming after them. All those who have studied the Commune and tried to explain the potential it held for liberation, which is what I believe my student Jean-Pierre, who has also been my mentor, was trying to do. The Commune remains as an amputated model, but still one of the few precious pieces of evidence that the common people, old and young, with common sense, reason, and compassion, can take the future into their own hands and make it what they want.